Okay folks, here's the yard scene on my personal layout. As you can see, I've got a vinyl backdrop started. One of the most important things is to just take your time getting the backdrop started, and once it's started you should be fairly good to go. You just want to make sure you stay nice and level the whole way across. I prefer to use a clean paint roller to apply the backdrop, and as I was getting everything lined up, I just used a clothes peg to hold the rest of the roll. If you can't use a clothes peg, or you're using a much larger backdrop, go ahead and just have a friend hold it up there and get it lined up real nice. And then all you want to do is just grab the back, and with your paint roller, just start working real slow and work your way across, applying the backdrop to your surface. Now you'll notice I'm applying this to sheetrock, which is not necessarily one of the methods I recommend, and that's just because I haven't gotten to test it and see how long it'll work long term. I did test a small piece and it worked out fairly well. So as you can see, I'm just going to work my way across here and apply the backdrop. It really is a very slow process, but I think you'll agree that once it's finished, it's definitely... Okay, so we're about halfway across the first section here, and I just want you folks to be able to see what I'm doing from a different angle. Like I said before, just take a clean paint roller and work your way nice and slow as you go. Just holding on to that peeled bit as you go across here. And if you end up getting any wrinkles or any bubbles at this point, you know, within the first few inches of getting it down, just watch for that. And you can usually just go ahead and peel the backdrop right off and put it back up and fix that bubble. Now it doesn't always work as well against hardboard. You don't have quite as much time, but you can still do it. It just takes a little bit of vigilance to make sure you don't end up with any bubbles or any wrinkles. And if you do get the backdrop up at the end of the day and you finally notice a bubble, it's not too big a deal. Just take a pin or something, pop the bubble, and use your finger or again your clean paint roller to flatten it out and get it up there. Okay, now here we are with the first section of the backdrop installed. I printed this in two 58-inch sections. The length of my wall is just about 112 inches, and I did 58-inch sections because there's going to be about a 2-inch overlap. So you see that white unprinted end at the end of the backdrop section there. You don't have any need to cut that off because the next section actually has a 2-inch overlap and is going to go ahead and just sit right on top of that, so you'll never even see it. But as you can tell, there's a pretty big difference in how the layout looks already. Now with the first section of backdrop up, I've gone ahead and prepared the second section of backdrop to be put up. And what I've done here to the top of the sheetrock, I've just used clothes pegs to hang everything so that it's nice and lined up. So I know that it's not going to climb or descend the wall too much. The real benefit of having the sections is if one section does start to climb or descend the wall, then you've got the next section to reset it and get everything going right. When you put the new section over the old section, you just want to be careful to get it all lined up properly, real nice. That helps avoid any seam showing. You can see there's just a little bit of a hint of a seam there on the backdrop, but from a few feet away it doesn't show up too bad. Next thing I'll do is just roll the backdrop back up to the part that's attached to the wall, and then I'll just start applying it the same way we did in the first one. So we'll start filming again when it's up and you can see the whole deal all done. Okay, here's the backdrop fully installed. As you can see, it goes a long way to adding to the realism and depth of the scene that you're trying to create. A couple quick tips for putting the backdrop up. One, you definitely want to have more than one person doing it. An extra pair of hands to start pulling the paper and help you line things up, and just to pull the backing off is really a big help. I definitely recommend having at least one other person. For the bigger backdrops, you might even consider having 3 people working on it just to make sure everything's lined up real nice. The other thing is make sure you have a nice straight reference line along the top or bottom, or however you're doing it with the backdrop, just so when you line the sections up, you know you're not going to walk up or down the wall one way or the other. And finally, I would recommend, if at all possible, do it without having to lean over the benchwork, because that definitely makes the process a whole lot more difficult. Again, this was with the adhesive vinyl, and some of the real advantages to using the adhesive vinyl is that you're not going to have to spray the wall or the vinyl, and you're not going to create a whole mess getting it all over you and that kind of thing, and all over your layout. Plus, you don't have to tape or put plastic down or anything like that to protect from the adhesive vinyl, or excuse me, from the spray adhesive. So there you go. Thanks for watching the video. If you have any questions, feel free to email dave@backdropjunction.com, or you can always call us at 1-800-615-3423. Thanks for watching the video, and thanks for checking out the site.